everyone, welcome back to episode 6. How was it? Taehyung asked excitedly and Jungkook smiled. It's really good, Jungkook glanced and Taehyung smiled. Jungkook thought he wouldn't wrangle like this without a care. He feeding him as if they had been together for years. Taehyung laughed and ate his food and watched the shore as a few people walked around. The sun was slowly setting and a cool breeze washed over the beach. It was not cold. A warm spring air hung in the sky. These moments were the best, as if there were no trouble in the world, and worry washed away with the wave of shore. Jungkook kept looking at them as they ate and laughed and talked. It felt good, it felt comfortable, and Jungkook forgot the complicated life for a moment. He get used to this thing by his side. They talk about their childhood and about silly things they used to do when they were young. They laughed and Jungkook would slip his arm around Taehyung's waist and pulled him closer to him. He crashed his side and they kept talking comfortably as they quiet down. Jungkook kept his arm around Taehyung and after a little comfortable silence he spoke. I still haven't want to apologize for what happened. We both should have known better and controlled ourselves. I should have controlled myself. Jungkook started quietly. He turned his face and looked at Taehyung. If I could start over, I would have. I wanted us to start like this, like we are now, and I hope you will give me another chance. He continued. Taehyung was Jungkook and felt how genuine he was. He also wanted to apologize for beating him, for lying to him. Don't beat yourself up. We both were in it, and I should have known to adjust them. We started and leaning in closer. He felt spark where Jungkook touched him. I lied to you too. I wanted to apologize for that too. I beat you and lied to you about being an alpha. Taehyung mumbled and looked up at Jungkook. Jungkook was surprised. I was scared at that time, and well, I'm an Omega, but I didn't want anyone to find out. I experienced my first hate with you, and I panicked. I'm sorry. It was silent for a moment as Jungkook looked at Taehyung. Things fell into place now. So he was an Omega. He smiled by the revelation and leaned in closer. Why should you be scared? I would have still dated you no matter what. I don't mind if you are an alpha or beta or omega. You are my pair, Jungkook said, assuring him. Taehyung sighed and smiled. People really don't care if he was an omega at all. It felt nice to know he wasn't judging for his gender. I feared myself. I have been suppressing that. I'm an omega for 8 years now, and that might change everything for me. It made me realize it's not a bad thing to be an omega. So it was a good thing it happened actually. Jungkook thanks it and smiled at Jungkook. He felt revealed on now that what he had told him. He pulled his knees up and put his head on them. He looked back at the sun setting and they were quiet for some time, both in thoughts. We are really destined. Then Jungkook sighed softly. I'm happy you are. Gender doesn't change you, and you are still the most beautiful person I have ever seen. Jungkook's head kissed Taehyung's cheek softly. He felt tingle and on his cheek where Jungkook had kissed him, and he turned his head to look at Jungkook. Their faces were close, their breath faint on their faces. Thank you for finding me, Taehyung whispered as noses touched and their lips closed in each other. Taehyung leaned in until their lips touched. He sighed, feeling a spark and deepened the kiss. Instantly, Jungkook pulled him closer by his hip and slid his at Taehyung's mouth. He let his glide over every crack and Taehyung said it bottom lips softly. Taehyung cried and Jungkook swelled. Every little sound it made, Taehyung felt his body grew hot, and he shivered from the spark traveled through him. Was this how it's supposed to feel? He could get used to that. Did Jungkook feel this? When they both were panting for air, they pulled apart and a sigh smell decorated things face. He completely forgot where they were. It was getting darker and already, and he was glad not many people walk here anymore. They stood like this for some time, basked in each other's accent. Jungkook couldn't stop picking Taehyung's cherry lips, which made Taehyung giggle, and Jungkook was overwhelmed that he was making his Omega so happy. Let's go, it's getting dark, Jungkook said harshly. After some time, he pulled Taehyung up. He kept their fingers intertwined as they walked back to the parking lot. They were both silent and took glances at each other. Eyes two overly in love teenager. Taehyung felt all light and fluttered. After tonight, the date has been. They stood still when they reached his apartment, and Jungkook leaned in, pushed Taehyung back against the door, making Taehyung gasp and look up at Jungkook. Taehyung was taller than Jungkook. Jungkook had noticed, but somehow in Jungkook's presence, he always felt smaller because of Jungkook's broad build. He loved it. Jungkook slipped his hands around his waist and leaned in to kiss his skinned chin. He wanted to spend his linger on him until he would see him again. He didn't want to leave, but he didn't want things to go too quickly. He would take his time with him. He didn't want him just for a little while. He wanted him for a lifetime. Taehyung had his hands on his shoulder, craned his neck to give him more assist. Jungkook let his extended linger on him and felt Taehyung tremble underneath him. I hope you had a great night, Jungkook whispered against them before pulling back. And look at those mesmerizing chocolate eyes. He smelled his addicting apple cinnamon accent and was tempted to just take him right now. Right here, he had to get away or he would do things to him they both would regret. He pulled away slowly, and Taehyung was in a trance. He looked at Jungkook and smiled sadly before regaining his composure. He was glad Jungkook didn't push him because he would honestly have given I love it and thanks for listening, Taehyung whispered and smiled. He felt his heart flutter. Looking at Jungkook, he definitely was falling for him hard. I will text you when I get home, Jungkook said and kissed his lips once more before he let Taehyung go and step back. Good night, Taehyung, Jungkook said and turned around. He looked back one last time before got back in the car and drove off. Taehyung waited until he was out of the sight. Before he went inside, he slipped down against the door and breathed in. His heart was beating so fast and his body was growing hot. Jungkook extended linger on him and he felt like he was still in his room. He had enjoyed this night so much and he couldn't wait to see him again. He was missing his touch already. That night he slept with his sweater on. Jungkook's lingering scent soothed him. He got a text from Jungkook saying he got home safely and wished him good night with a kissing smiley. The man Taehyung smiled brightly and texted him good night too. These feelings were new. Was this how it would always be? He could definitely get used to it. He didn't think it would go this fast, but his jeans didn't fit anymore. Taehyung tried to button them and hold his stomach, but his stomach wasn't tucking in. It was a little bit a small bump that has appeared on his usual flat belly. He sighed and began out of his two-tier jeans and grabbed some sweatpants. This would have to do for now. It scared him a bit now that it was really visible that he was pregnant. The last week he had just tried to ignore it, and he was just trying to live through the morning sickness and usual hunger attacks that he still had. It still all felt like a dream to him, and he had thought he had some time before he would really have to hide it. He was getting a little. The time he had spent with Jungkook felt like he was first time meeting. It all felt so right to be with him, and it made him less scared of what was to come. He would be able to do anything with him by his side. The thought made him smile. Jungkook made him smile all the time. He would try to contain it, and when it was in his school, and tried to keep his head by the lecture, but it would sometimes wander to Jungkook, and he would be gazing at, noticing particular with a grin on his face. Hobi had slapped him a few times already when he saw him like that. He had asked what was with him, but Taehyung wasn't ready to tell him about Jungkook yet. He was just accepting he was an Omega, and now already telling people about finding pair. His friendship with Hobi had grown over the last week since he had told him he was an Omega, and he was very thankful that he didn't treat him differently. He was able to ask him about Omegas since Hobi had a Omega sister, and he didn't Omega sister, and he did learn a lot about his side from Hobi. He was into all the information about Omegas, and he really had been misjudged. Omegas in the past, they weren't big at all. They could get alphas to crumble at their feet in mere second. They could. Now that he was stopped taking the supplements and his accent, he did get a few weird looks around school, but no one ever bothered him or asked him. He was thing that made him sad now that he was unable to see Jungkook this week was missing him already now that he was so used to seeing him and knowing how it felt. The last few weeks had been like a fairy tale. After the first day, Jungkook had showered him with little gifts. He would take him out to the movies and have dinner together and drop him off at his apartment like a gentleman. He could still blush from those memories, the soft kisses they shared before their goodbyes, the roses he would send, all that made him really fall for him hard. He didn't know if he was in love with him already because he had never loved anyone before, and how did it feel to love someone. Taehyung was startled when a knock came and he was still standing in front of the mirror. He was thinking too much again, and Hobi was there already. They would go out to do some research for their project, and they had decided to do it together. Hobi was grateful that Taehyung was taking him out, and he couldn't tell him enough. He would nearly drop to his knees with gratitude. Coming, Taehyung yelled when another knock came, and he rushed out of his bedroom. He quickly got his wallet and phone before opening the door to the impatient knocking. Hobi, took you long enough, almost died here, Hobi said exasperately, and doing an almost went movement. Don't be so dramatic, let's go. Taehyung laughed and pushed him out of the way. They walked out of the library, closed by the grabbed a drink on the way. Taehyung still couldn't stand coffee, so he took iced tea. It didn't upset his stomach that much. Luckily, When they finally got inside, getting scolded only once for Hobi being too loud, they both searched for the books they needed. When they found an empty table, they started working in silence. It was hard for Hobi, him being the chatterbox. He was to stay quiet. He was whispering away at Taehyung, and Taehyung had to silence him a few times, but he couldn't keep him from smiling at him. People were giving them angry looks by now, and Taehyung would send them apologetic notes. Overall, they did get a lot of work done, and when they finally walked out, they both sighed in relief. That was torture for me. Hobi whined, next time, let's just work at your place. Alright, with me, I have to silence you for more than I got work done. Taehyung joked and slipped. I'll see you next time. I have to go this way. Have to run some errands for my mom. So we said, rolling his eyes and waving goodbye before walking back. Walking away, Taehyung waved back and smiled. He walked back to his apartment deep in his thoughts when suddenly someone bumped onto him, and Taehyung looked up to apologize. Sorry, sir. I wasn't looking where I was going. Shh, stupid Omega's useless, the man said as he looked up and down with a dirty look. Then was shocked. What did that man just say? He had not experienced discrimination against his gender just yet, and made his blood boil. What? Last year, you know, your smell is very tempting. Trying to right? The man said as he walked back over to Taehyung, grabbed his neck and stabbed. Taehyung almost wanted to vomit. Pushed him down on the floor. The man screamed in pain, and his hand was twisted in a weird way, almost breaking them. This Omega isn't trying to anymore ever, so get your dirty freaking hands off me or any Omega from now, or you will really break your arms. Taehyung screamed at him and pushed a little harder. The man pleaded for Taehyung to let him go, and Taehyung, let's go fast before he really would lose his mind. He so wanted to freak this man up. He wasn't some weak Omega to be played with, and no Omega was this. The man quickly got up and ran away while holding his arm. I'm going to make you pay for this, the man screamed back on last time, and Taehyung laughed. You will have to find me first, he yelled back and walked away to his apartment. He entered in and slammed the door with frustration sigh. He wasn't some weak Omega, and he would never let anyone to do something like that ever again. He sat down on his little couch, exhausted, and closed his eyes. He was tired. The pregnancy really took a toll on his body. The event really had tired him out. He hoped he would not have to do this to anyone again soon. He would definitely break something. Then his phone rang, and Taehyung was pulled out of his angry bubble once he saw who was calling. Jungkook. Hello, Taehyung said in a little sigh. He still wasn't used to the calls from Jungkook, and a blush almost crept off his face when he called. Hello, sweetie. How are you? Missing you already, Jungkook answered in his oh so loving dark voice. Taehyung shivered as he bit his lips. He would always get hot and bothered when he heard him talking like this, and he thought, I am fine, how are you? Taehyung answered, avoiding the question about him missing Jungkook. He was too embarrassed to answer that. Of course, he missed him like crazy. Ah, I miss you so much. My heart hurts just thinking about you being so far away, Jungkook whined, and Taehyung could just imagine him pouting on the other side, making him clench softly. I miss you too, he said softly, and crawled deeper into the couch. They talked for a while, and Jungkook kept on fluttering his way through the phone. By the end of the conversation, Taehyung was bright red and half hard in the I will leave you by now, baby, Jungkook said, and a smiling voice. Can't wait to have you in my arms again. I hope to be back tomorrow night. Taehyung felt his heart flutter at the thought of finally seeing him again, and he smiled. I'm going to the bed now. Good night, Jungkook. Can't wait to see you too. Good night, baby. Dream of me. I will definitely have you in my dreams. Jungkook teased and Taehyung spluttered and said his final goodbyes before hanging up, but just so hearing Jungkook laugh before the line went silent, Taehyung sighed and grinned. He was so smitten with that man. He trashed on the couch before getting up to get ready for the bed. He was exhausted and he just wanted to sleep the night away. Thinking and dreaming about Jungkook, of course. Taehyung tapped his legs on the white floor of the clinic. Today was the day he had an appointment again for an ultrasound. He wished Jungkook was with him for this, but he knew he had to do this alone. He felt sad at the thought and now regretted that he didn't tell him already. He would had plenty of opportunity, but he was too scared to tell, and now he had to do it alone. He was waiting and felt the second tick by slowly. They felt like hours before he was called in, and he got up and greeted the very friendly doctor. He smiled at the middle-aged beta mega woman and walked after her to the room. His hands were sweaty when he lay down on the comfortable examination bed. He didn't know what to call it. The doctor asked him. The beta applied the gel on the lower belly and Taehyung hissed when the cold gel hit his stomach. She reassured him it would soon warm up. She grabbed the ultrasound device and Taehyung closed his eyes. He wasn't ready for this all yet. He was trying to study his breathing. His hand trembled as he gripped on his shirt tight, and he felt the device push on his belly and moved around. This it is, the beta said quietly. Taehyung took a few deep breaths before he slowly opened his eyes. He turned his head and watched the screen. What was there to see? He didn't see much. It was all black and white. The little white bean there, that's your baby, she said, and Taehyung squinted his eye to look for it. Once he saw it, I think we will be able to hear a heartbeat too. Let's turn on the sound, the doctor said as she tapped away on few keys. Taehyung waited with better breath. Suddenly the room was filled with the soft thumping sound. Taehyung couldn't contain his tears that he had gathered in his eyes, and a few slipped from his eyes over his cheeks. He watched the screen and heard the quick heartbeat, and he felt his heart swelled with love. How couldn't one possibly love something that wasn't even there yet? So much already. It's growing nicely, and you are 9 weeks plus 3 days pregnant as of today. Congratulations, everything looks healthy, the beta said and handed Taehyung some tissues to wipe the tears. The woman took some softly and smiled. He leaned down. This was the reality now, and he would most definitely protect the baby with his life. pushed his shirt back down and got up with a big smile on his face. A sigh of relief left his lips, and the woman handed him envelope with pictures. She informed him about the baby's progress and planned their next appointment. This time, Taehyung listened carefully, not wanting to miss any information about his little bean. He walked out of the clinic with new supplements and waited for the bus close by to get back to apartment. He needed to see Jungkook once he was back home. He had done at the kitchen table and was trying to muster up the courage to text him. He still wasn't sure if this would be the good idea. He sighed and grabbed his phone. He opened his chat and typed Jungkook's name. He started typing with trembling fingers. It was now or never. He looked down at he covered his belly, smiled. All the best. Jungkook, do you have time tomorrow? I want to speak with you. He needed him in this journey, and he hoped he would accept it. If not, Taehyung didn't want to think about it as he felt his throat tighten at that thought. He didn't want to lose Jungkook, but he didn't want to lose his baby. His baby. To be continued. What do you think? Is Jungkook gonna accept this baby, and is he gonna happy, or what is gonna be his reaction? We will get to know all this in the next episode. Hope you will enjoy it. Okay, as I have said, I don't know much about medical terms, so please bear with me. Thanks a lot for reading. Bye bye.